Kerala. She's a native speaker of Malayalam and she knows other languages as well. Dr. Anusree Srinivasan has several research papers to her credit, both at national and international level, and she has participated in some of the most prestigious conferences of India and abroad. Dr. Anusree Srinivasan, I extend a very warm welcome to you, and I am very happy. And it's, of course, the privilege of the CIIL Mysore as well as Navodaya Vidyalaya Samiti that you have given your very valuable time to all of us. So, over to you, Dr. Anu.
Thank you, Pankaj. Thank you for that nice introduction. And first of all, let me tell my gratitude to for calling me for this program. And it is indeed an honor and privilege to be associating with such an great institute and to be a part of this program. So thank you, Pankaj. Okay, so namaskaram to all the others. Okay, I understand that all of you are Malayalam teachers and teaching Malayalam language to non-native speakers of Malayalam. I prefer to do my lecture in English, and then later on the discussions, maybe we'll mix the languages. Okay, so I would like to show my PPT now. Yeah, is it visible to all of you? Am I audible and is my PPT visible?
Yes, yes. Visible.
Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the topic that I am to present is managing a language classroom. Okay. So let us start with the basics. What is classroom management? So classroom management is basically the wide variety of skills and techniques that teachers use to keep students focused, attentive on task, and academically productive during class. It can also be defined as a skill of organizing the class, individual students within that class, and
sound is not much clear, madam.
Oh, okay. Is it better now? I think I should keep my mic. Is it better now? Can you hear me?
No, it's all right.
Hello, is it okay now?
It's all right. All right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the main purpose of implementing classroom management strategies is to enhance pro-social behavior and increase the student academic engagement. So whatever the purpose of classroom teaching is, that can be fulfilled through a proper classroom management. Okay, so why is classroom management important? It's because it helps to establish and sustain an orderly environment in the classroom. It increases meaningful academic learning and facilitates social and emotional growth among the students. It helps to decrease negative behaviors and increase the time spent academically engaged for the students. Okay, so now these are all, background literatures like what are the major principles of classroom management. So that is to emphasize student expectations for behavior and learning, to promote active learning and student involvement, to identify important student behaviors for success. Okay, more specifically, like what behaviors are required to reach the goal of an active learning, and what implications does a particular learning activity have for student role, and how will the teacher prepare the students to take on these roles. So that is the most important. Now, what is our duty? Like, how can we reach the students, attain that goal? Okay, so perhaps, yeah. Okay, now management challenge in the language classroom. So see, why language specifically? So teachers of any subject, face their fair share of management challenges. But in many ways, the language teaching takes those challenges to a new level. Now, here is why. The first thing is speaking centric. Okay, language teachers, as opposed to other teachers, they are simultaneously encouraging the students to speak, right? You want the students to speak in your class, not to keep mum. So you want the students to use a target language that they are learning. But at the same time, we have to regulate their conversations. Okay, we don't want them to be chit-chatting all the time. So it's a fine line of walk. So that is an extra and added challenge to a language classroom. Now, another issue is multiple languages. Now, regaining control of the class should be done without switching out of the target language. So that means you must be making sure that you speak only the target language in the class, and let the students also use only the target language. Okay, now that is a challenge in itself. Another challenge is the mixed level of the students. So if you have a group of students who have different levels, different speaking levels, then it is a challenge for the teacher to engage them all in their same level. Okay, to engage them also that each and every one of them succeed. You don't want to be too fast forward for the slower students, and you don't want to be boring for the student who pick up faster. Okay, so that is a challenge. And then another challenge is oversized classrooms. So yeah, that again is common for all teachers who teach any subjects, but especially in a language classroom, what happens is to learn a language, students must have adequate speaking time. So if you have an oversized classroom, like how will all the students get their share of talk time? Okay, so now that is a problem when you have activities and all. Okay, so now it may sound overwhelming for new teachers, but there's no need to worry if we go prepared, if we know how to manage all these challenges. Okay, so perhaps one of the most important resources for achieving all these goals is you, of course. Okay, you as a teacher. So there are a number of things that you can use in terms of classroom management, and they include, though they are not limited to, the use of your eyes, the use of your voice, and your gesture. Okay, so let's see how each of them can be used in the management of a classroom. So starting with your eyes. The eyes can be used in a number of ways to hold attention. Okay, you want particular students to attend carefully in the class. You use your eyes. You don't talk much in the class. You use your eyes. Then to show when something is correct, yeah, we appreciate it, and to encourage or to dissuade students. Okay, so you use your eyes a lot, and it is always beneficial. It is like better if the teacher talk time is lessened and the student talk time is increased. So you can use all those things in that manner, for that case. Okay, and another thing, moving on to voice. Voice itself will naturally change depending on what you're doing in the classroom. So we should be very careful to enunciate each and every word very slowly and clearly. We should be very careful to use the intonations properly, right? The the rise and fall of the pitch, so that your class is not very monotonous. It's a bit of interesting. So you use your intonations properly, and then use the language at the level that you are teaching, and that is very important. So if you are teaching to a first grader, that level will be different from that you're teaching to a fifth grader or an eighth grade. So always use the language at the level of which you're teaching. Another important point is that you use, is the use of gestures. So gesture also helps to reduce the teacher talk time. It helps to add to or convey more meaning. It adds to the visual interest, okay, and it increases in help, decreases the pace of the class. Okay. Okay, so now moving on to other considerations like grouping students for class activities. like we can group the students in the entire class. Maybe you can consider the whole class as one group, and in that case there are some negatives and some positives. They will let us see what are the potential drawbacks and potential positives for each type of grouping. So if you consider the whole class as one particular group, so the positives are that it gives that class a sense of belonging. So like all the students belong to one particular group. Then the whole group can interact with each other. So it helps for student-student interaction, and it is also good for lesson teaching. So like all the lesson plan that you have come with, you can teach at one stretch, like in one stretch for the entire class. And the potential negatives are that it reduces the student's talk time as the class is working together. So every student stretch for the entire class. And the potential negatives are that it reduces the student's talk time as the class is working together. So every student may not get their required amount of talk time. And then it can be quite off-putting for the shy students, having to work with the whole class. But it is, as language teachers, it is our duty to, pull them out of their shells. But yeah, like some students are there who are kind of shy. And then it would be difficult to manage the entire class activity. If you have, a whole class of 40 or 60 students, it would be difficult to manage the activities. Now, another strategy that language teachers use is, considering everyone as individuals. Okay, so now the positives of this is that it allows teacher to respond to individual students. It allows the students to become more self-reliant. Okay, so yeah, you are an entity in yourself, so you have to give the correct answers. You don't have anyone to share with, so you become more self-reliant. But at the same time, it has some negatives, that it creates more pressure to produce their own answers because you don't have a group so that you can discuss and give the answer. And then there is little student-student interaction. Here, there will be good teacher-student interaction, but there won't be much student-student interaction. Okay? Oh, okay. Okay. It is better if you have anything, you say it to me, because our comment box so you say it out. Okay. So the next consideration is small groups. Is it better now? Hello? Okay. Okay. Now, if you consider small groups or pair works, now this is a very commonly used grouping activity, especially in language classes. So here, the posters are that it increases student talk time. So you have a group, you have a pair. So you get a lot of student talk time. It creates a safer environment, so that you're doing activities together. Even if you make a fault, you have your partner to blame. So it's kind of safer environment. There isn't much pressure as in the case of individuals. And the negative is that if you don't get well on with your partner, okay, if you have any issues with your partner, then yeah, it's gone. You can't expect them to work any further. Okay. Now another consideration is using students' names. Okay. So there are many benefits to using the student's name in the classroom. It helps to organize the class. So you just have to know the name of the student. You can just call them. So it is always better, as teachers, we know the name of the students. It is better we learn their names in the, first, if we have a, ice-breaking session and all, we learn their names. So it helps to acknowledge them. Like if somebody has done anything or somebody has given a good answer, it helps to acknowledge and then to indicate who should respond. Yeah, if we have a question, we ask them the question and put their names at the end of the question. Okay, now this is important. Question ചോദിച്ചിട്ട് അവസാനത്തിൽ പേര് പറയുക, so that they all the students listen to the question. Otherwise, if you tell the name first, like, okay, this question is to that person, it's not to me, so I don't have to listen to the question, I don't have to think about it. Okay, that attitude will be there. So always put the name at the end of the question. Okay, now using student names, it's not only good for the teacher, it is also beneficial for the students, because there are many researchers which found, okay, many researchers have looked into what student feels if a teacher knows their name. Okay, so the students too feels more valued. Okay, so the student feels like, oh, the teacher knows my name. Okay, now that itself is a feeling. I'm sure you too have gone through that feeling. And the student feels more invested in the course. So once the teacher knows your name, okay, so the teacher knows me here in the class, so I should be, attentive in this class. And then the student feels more comfortable getting help and talking to the teacher. And the student feels that the teacher cares. Okay, the teacher cares for me. That's why the teacher knows my name. And then it helps build a student-teacher relationship. It ultimately builds a classroom community. Okay, if there is a rapport between the student and the teacher, then it helps build the classroom community. Okay. Another issue is classroom control. Okay, classroom control. Now, classroom control is very important element of classroom management. Without classroom control, there can be no classroom management. And teachers are the biggest source to maintain class control. Now, don't take this control in a negative sense, because I've seen while doing a research for this particular PPT, I saw that in many cases, many people have taken this word control in a negative sense and said that, you don't control the class, you don't have to control the students. No, they're taking it in a bad sense. But then take it in a sense that if we have to manage a classroom, there should be some kind of control in it. So the teachers have to be, need to be authoritative in the class. So that means the teacher, students should know that there is a teacher here and we should listen to the teacher. So in that way, the teacher should take the control of this class. Okay, so the students must feel the presence of the teacher, and the teacher must be in full control. Okay, and the teacher should be in command. Okay, in command means the teacher should have the mastery on the content, the pedagogy, the management. Okay, and the management makes the teacher in command. So like the teacher should come well prepared, like he should be in command. They should know like what to do in this class. And the teacher should have an expectation like how the student should behave in my class. Okay, the teacher needs to be organized. And it is extremely important for the teacher to be organized in a classroom. So if the teacher itself is not organized, you cannot expect the students to be organized. Okay, and for an actual classroom control to happen, the students equally needs to, act responsibly, follow the rules of the classroom, respect the teachers, and take care of their peers. Now, these are expected of the students. Yeah, we expect them to be in that way. Okay, now another serious point when discussing classroom management is that of discipline or the student contact. Okay, so when we talk about student contact, you must be experiencing yourself that students do some kind of misconduct in the class. Now, what are the common misconduct issues? Let us see what they are. Like undermining the teacher authority. Yeah, that is a serious issue. Then spacing out or sleeping in the class, very common issue. Frequent absence or tardiness. Food and cell phone disruptions, plagiarism or lying, disrespectful behavior, refusal to participate, too much chit-chat. I don't think you need explanation for any of these things. You must be experiencing this yourself. Okay, so now let us look at some of the strategies for addressing such kind of discipline issues. So you have to define your expectations and the policies of your institution or your school on the first day of the term or first day of the class, and respond in a consistent and decisive manner. That means in the first day itself, you make out the rules, you tell them the rules. So these are the rules of the class, and these are the ways you are expected to behave. Yeah, nothing works that way, but yeah, but this is your duty. You better say it in the first class itself. Okay. And then be careful not to embarrass a student in front of his peers unnecessarily. And now this is very, very crucial point. You have not embarrassed a student. You should not embarrass a student. Now that would be, psychologically off-putting for them. So try not to embarrass a student. Then before you respond to what looks like a conduct issue, consider possible causes. Could there be a reasonable explanation? Yeah, so that is also another important thing, that you ask for the reason, like why did you do that? Okay, so if there is a reasonable explanation, if the student can give for that, otherwise you can give your punishment whatever you want. Then create a class culture that encourages appropriate behavior and discourages disruption. So that kind of culture itself should be made in the class. And remember that most problems are, after all, what you make them out to be. Yeah, so stay cool. Don't take everything personally. Diffuse tensions, exhibit a good sense of humor and much flexibility, but make sure to draw lines. Now, yeah, this is also an important point. See, I know, like, teachers sometimes take things very personally, so it is better don't take things personally. They are just considered, they are students, they are children, they're supposed to do that. So it's not particularly you, they must be doing this in any other class, or even if they don't, it's not about you. So don't try to take things personally and create tensions unnecessarily. And then exhibit a good sense of humor. So even if a student does some misconduct, try to turn it into a humoristic way, and try to laugh it off if it isn't that serious. Okay. Then it is also better to document disruptive behaviors. So if a student is making the same issue again and again, then maybe you have to take it to a next level. You may have to report it to your superiors. Then so it's better you document them. You mark it maybe in your register, wherever, that this boy has been late every day. So if the boy is late for more than 3 consecutive days, then ask for a reason or report it to the principal or any such thing. Okay, so these are some of the strategies like you can take when there is a discipline issue. Now, another thing is behavior modification. So behaviors that need modification are fear and anxiety of various aspects of school life. Okay, so the students come with their own fears and anxieties, so that needs to be modified. Gross misbehavior in class, then substance abuse, learning difficulties, example dyslexia, autism, attention deficit, etc. So all this needs special attention. Then criminal and delinquent activities. Okay, so these needs modification. And what are the strategies? Strategies can be praise them or positive reinforcement. What is positive reinforcement? That means instead of blaming or keeping shouting at the students like don't do that, don't do this, instead of that you say, oh good, good that you are all keeping silent, good that you have done your homework. So give them positive reinforcements. If the teacher is all lively and if the teacher gives all positive words, that itself gives an energy and enthusiasm for the students. Okay, but if the teacher comes itself and starts shouting like don't do this, don't do that, and all bad things about the class, that would make a negative reinforcement. So let's not do that. Praise and give positive reinforcement. And then Another strategy is rewards. You can give them rewards. Students are rewarded for manifesting as expected behaviors. So, for younger children and all, like, you can give them points, like you make them into groups and then give them points, like, oh, this group is, is good today. They are, you have answered to this question, so give them 1 mark. Okay, on the board, you can, give them rewards. Okay. And then modeling. Teachers model behaviors which they want their students to manifest. Yeah, so you teachers are the model for the students, so they learn from you. And then punishment, yeah, this too can be done. Class detention or no release for game time, etc., can be given if they, if that is also a way of modifying the bad behaviors. Then response cost. That means the response cost is a fine that can cost students a reward that has been already earned. So I told you, like, we give them rewards, right? We give them points for good behavior in the class. And if they did something bad, okay, cut off that point. You take the reward back. Okay, so many teachers use different strategies. They may give, stars, or they may give points, or in younger classes, small classes, I've seen teachers use, mechanisms like you draw a police van here, and then you have a police station here on the board, and whoever car reaches the police station first, like, oh, by the end of the class, your police car should reach the police station. So each good thing that you do, your police car will move a little bit. So this is one, fun way of making the students behave well in a class. So yeah, these are some of the modification techniques. Now another consideration for classroom management is classroom arrangement. Okay. Okay, so classroom. Hello. Yeah, classroom arrangement refers to a layout of the physical set of chairs, tables, materials in a classroom. So it's just how you arrange your classroom. Okay, and the dynamics of classroom interaction is often dictated by how you arrange your classroom space. Okay. And the way a classroom is arranged itself could depend on a number of factors, like the age of the students. That means, younger age or adult learners, whatever is the age of the student. Then physical space available. Then materials available. Student personality. Yeah, so a classroom, you can arrange your classroom according to the way you want it best fitted. And then let us look at some of the desk layouts, some of the seating arrangements that normally what they use in language classrooms. Okay, so you have the traditional row column method. Okay, you have all the schools, like as we know, we have this method, straight rows or columns. And then stadium method, horseshoe or U-shaped layout, otherwise spots or groups, or else combinations. So let us look at them each one by one. Let me check my time. Okay. Okay, so in the traditional way, it too has many pros and cons. So here, as you can see in the picture, you have all, maybe if it's not individual tables like this, we have benches and desks, right? In our school system, that is what we have. So that is the traditional way, and it helps helps the students to focus to the front of the room. And yeah, so we all focus on the teacher, and then it creates a space for the teacher to walk around them or to between the benches. And then it makes it harder for the students to cheat on the test, okay, while we are taking test and all. And the cons is that it makes a student collaboration more difficult due to the back to front design. So the students cannot collaborate. If you want a group activity, just like the student in the front and in the back, they cannot collaborate. So it has its own pros and cons. Another seating arrangement is that of stadium. So stadium, like you might have seen, and like in many now I think in modern schools we have the system of the stadium arrangement. We have a large audience, you have the stadium arrangement, and this enables a teacher to see what every student is doing because of the rows are designed in that angle, and it gives all the students a clear view of the teacher also. And yeah, so it also uses less floor space by condensing the amount of total space between the desks, so you can incorporate a large number of students into such seating arrangements. Then it allows the students to work collaboratively with neighbors and those in the immediate row. Then cons is that it may place some students too far away from the front of the room. Then it's tougher to enforce classroom management after the two rows. After the first two rows and behind, you cannot manage the students properly. And it is also less suitable for group activities. Another arrangement that you can follow is that of the horseshoe or semicircles, but this cannot be implemented in a larger classrooms where you have a lot of students. Okay, so the pros of this horseshoe arrangement is that it is great for discussions because the students can easily see and engage with each other. Okay, and it directs the focus to a central point, and all students can see, and it places all students equidistant from the central focus. So all the students can see the teacher clearly, what the teacher is doing clearly, and it allows the teacher also to see the students clearly. Like you can see each and every one of them, and all the students can see each other. And the cons of this is that it uses more space. Yeah, it uses more space, and you can only accommodate a few number of students here, and it hinders small group discussions. You cannot have small group discussion. Either it should be an entire class discussion if this is to be working. Then it is easy for students to cheat during the assignments because their visible range is increased. Okay, that students can all see each other, they can cheat easily, but this teacher can only focus on one group at a time. So the teacher cannot see all of them at a time. So now in that case, it is easy for them to cheat. Okay. Another consideration, another arrangement is the groups. Like you can have pods. Okay, it's also known as pods, and in this style, it places some desks together in a group. Okay, so this kind of things, like I don't know in our schools if we use this, but I've seen in foreign schools and all they use this pod system, especially for younger groups. Okay, so it allows for collaboration within the students within their group. It allows teachers to interact with the students on an individual or a small group basis. So the teacher needs to go to each and every group, and they can have interaction that way. And it is good for kind of activities. And the cons is that it uses more space than the other designs, and it may not be possible in smaller classrooms. It requires a healthy classroom community, so the students are all paying attention to the lesson and their task, and may not be ideal for students who have difficulty remaining focused. So like in this case, you cannot guarantee that all students will be listening to the teacher. So if you have already made a group, they can play on in their group and not listen to the teacher. So that kind of issues may be there. And again, it's easier for students to cheat during assignments or test if you have such kind of arrangement. And the last seating arrangement that I'll be discussing is combination. Here, combination means like any combination of any of the other arrangements that we have seen. So now this is kind of flexible. You can do it on a day-to-day basis, or you can keep it permanent. But here, the pros is that it allows for flexible design that can facilitate a workshop experience And if the students are not fixed on one seat, you can change the groups. Like one group of students can sit here today, and the next group can sit the next day. So kind of combination. You have the rows here, you have the pod system, you have everything in one single classroom. Okay. So, and here you make use of whatever desks are available. Okay, so in other classes we want, we want to arrange a class, we need the required amount of material. But here, like whatever is available in the in that classroom, we put that together and make up a shift our classroom. And the cons is that it does not allow for uniformity across the class. Yeah, all students are not made to sit together or sit in a proper way, so there will not be much of a uniformity there, and it doesn't give every student the same view of the teacher. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, so that is all about the classroom arrangement. Okay, now let us move on to some other considerations, like the writing on the board, like how to write on the board. Okay, so board basics, I'm sure you are all teachers, you know all these basics, like what and how to write on a board. So important things are that your students should have a clear, uninterrupted view of the board, and don't turn your back on the class for too long. Yeah, when you're writing, you shouldn't keep on writing, then the students will be there doing something else. So yeah, don't turn your back on the class for too long. So if you have a class, for younger children, they say, you should have an eyes behind your head also. Yeah. So that's what they say. And then write clearly on the board and make sure that you have written words or text big enough for everyone to see, even from the back of the class. And then practice writing in straight lines across the board. So like, what do you say? When you are writing. So practice writing in straight lines on the board. Then check what you write as you write. Make sure you don't make any spelling mistake, because the students are there to, copy and write whatever you're writing. Yeah. So then check with your students that they are ready for you to clean the board. Yeah. Ask them if they have copied down whatever you've written before you clean the board. And then whenever we are writing, we should not be talking. Yeah, that is an important point. Make sure that when you're writing something on the board, don't talk. And when you're talking, don't talk in the sense like not what you're writing. You can, when you're writing, it is good that you speak aloud what you write, but don't talk other things when you're writing something on the board. Okay. And when you're talking, yeah, vice versa. If you're talking something, you finish that talking, saying something to students, and then only write on the board. Okay, because that may confuse the students. Yeah. The next consideration is giving individual attention. Now, don't ask questions in a predictable order. So try to mix up, like you start from one end and then go asking questions. Don't do that, because by the end of the by the end you reach the end of the class, they will be knowing the answers they must have learned. So try to mix up when you're asking. Don't ask questions in a predictable order. And then don't allow individual students to dominate in answering all the answers. Yeah, there will be some smart students, to raise their hands every time. So don't allow individual students to dominate. You have to make even the shy students to answer. Or you have to find out the shy students, or who is lurking in the back, to come up and give the answer. Then use students' name at the end of the questions. Yes, this I have discussed before. Then allow all students to answer when they can. Yeah. So then don't force the students to answer. Yeah, if somebody doesn't know the answer, don't force them too much. Okay, so now I know we have a lot of consideration considering the emotional psychology of the students, a lot of things to consider. So don't force anyone to answer. Another consideration is the teacher took time. One advantage is that you are usually the only real model for the correct use of language. So how to use a language correctly. You are teaching a target language. So how that language is produced, maybe the students are listening it only from you. So it is good to have teacher talk time, but at the same time, the disadvantage is that it reduces student talk time. Okay, we like if you only keep on talking in the class and the students doesn't get to talk, then how will they learn the language? Okay, so try to minimize the teacher talk time wherever possible by using mime, gestures, or pictures. Or another important thing is use the language at their level, so that avoid jargon. That means don't use complicated terms and then later on you have to explain it, until and unless it's part of the lesson and you have to teach that word to them. So try to use the language at their level and give common instructions every time, like what or how to do the things. Give common instructions so that by after doing some 2-3 activities, they'll know it by themselves, like what to do. Like if the teacher says this, I know what to do. Okay, that kind of thing should be there. Then another consideration is while giving instructions to students, so use simple language, do a visual demonstration, try to use common words as often as possible, then check understanding by asking them what they are going to do. So if you ask, did you understand? Everybody says like, yeah, you understood. Then what did you understand? They may not be knowing. So always ask them. Okay, if they said they have understood, then like ask them what they are going to do. Let them explain it back to you, like what you have explained. Okay. Another consideration is that of building rapport. Yeah. So so how do you build rapport with your students? So at the start of the course itself, you ask them to make name card and make it visible for everyone. Now this is some activity they like you can follow. You may or may not. Now that's up to you. Now one activity that you can make it into an activity as such. You make name cards and make it visible so that it's better for us also to remember their names. Using names is also important. And then let them do some ice-breaking activities that allow them to interact. Okay. And then throughout the course, use pair work as often as possible. Okay, group work or pair works. Then don't allow single student to dominate. Yeah. Allow students to correct each other. Let the students correct each other. Okay. And then try to personalize all activities as possible. So use the name of students than that in the activity book. So maybe if, in the activity book, you have John, Mary, and Sarah, you use the name of the students in your own class. Okay. So that, and make it a game among themselves. And, you can do role plays and also try to personalize all the activities and try to build that, classroom community where everybody is easy with the others. Okay, so the teacher, student, and the student, they are all one big community. They all have a good rapport among each other. Okay, now the final consideration is discipline in classroom. So yeah, this thing, you should always be seen to be fair. Okay. That means don't be partial to any students. Now, yeah, you shouldn't be partial. Even though you tend to be partial, maybe if some students are, better at answering and very active, don't be partial. Try to be fair to all and everyone. And make sure that you are punctual in the class. So if you itself is not punctual, you can't ask the students to be punctual, right? And then you are well prepared. So the teacher itself should be well prepared. So come well prepared, like bring your lesson plan. You should know what you're going to teach today. Don't come there and then improvise like, okay, I'll do this, I'll do that. So that would make a disruption in the classroom. So you come well prepared, bring all the activity things that you want to, you want there in the classroom. Otherwise, if you go in between to the staff room to pick up something, again, the classroom is disrupted. Again, you'll have to spend time getting the class in control. So come well prepared, and then sure, students respect. Yeah, give respect, take respect. That's age-old philosophy. Then, if you give homework, take it in, mark, and return it. Yeah, that's very important point. If you're giving homework, make sure you check it. Otherwise, don't give homework. Because otherwise, what happens if you're giving homework and then you don't check it? Like the students will be like, the teacher gives homework, no need to do anyway. The teacher is not going to check. So that kind of attitude may come inside. So don't do that. And then always act immediately before the problem gets worse. Yeah, so don't, if there is an issue among the class, don't wait for it to get worse. Act immediately, solve the issue then and there. And then always be enthusiastic. Okay, you should be an enthusiastic teacher. Keep calm, never shout. Yeah. And then try to use humor wherever possible. Okay. So, yeah, so these are the things like how you can discipline the classroom and how you should manage your classroom. I'm sure you all have, you all know these things. I mean, you are the teachers who have been doing all these things. So all I have to tell you is keep calm and teach on. Okay, so that's it. My presentation today. Thank you. Okay, now.